Susanne, climate change, NATO, Copenhagen next year. Could you say something, or are you allowed to say? You could say, I know that, but you know about how NATO is going to interact with the coming major climate change negotiations. Is there a role there? Would you be an observer just, or would you add to that sense of urgency? You know, which I mentioned when I started.
Well, I'm afraid I'm not so optimistic. But let me start with a quote from the SecGen as I finished the last remarks with one of his, which he gave actually at the speech in April to the Hera Foundation. They had a conference on security implication of climate change, and the Secretary General of NATO came and had a long speech, and I think that is a sign. So he's one of the champions in NATO that climate change and environmental security is a matter for NATO to take up. I quote, "NATO is doing many valuable things, but we don't have an overarching policy." And I think this is absolutely and utterly true. Now, as in any other international organizations, our clients and stakeholders are the nations. They have the decision-making power. And I believe that, and this is a very personal belief, that the civilian servants in these organizations, they have a responsibility to challenge the nations with forward-looking scenarios so that they can decide on long-term and sustainable security solutions that will serve all the clients, all the citizens, and not just the nation. I think in recent years we could see some advancement with respect to raising environmental issues alongside with the new and broader security and defense concept. For example, NATO has established a working group which is called the High North, and this working group is now for the first time organizing a NATO conference on climate change at the High North. This will take place in January in 2009 in Reykjavik, together with the Icelandic government. And in June this year, for example, the NATO Secretary General addressed the security and defense agenda, and he included in his speech climate change as one of the 5 major threats to future security. The other 4 threats he mentioned were state failure, growing power of non-state actors, proliferation of weapons of mass destruction, and energy security. So he is forward-looking, and let's hope the next Secretary General will pick up on this. I quote him again, "Climate change could confront us with a whole range of unpleasant developments which no single nation state has the power to contain." At the same time, Jaap de Hoef Scheffer really is promoting closer cooperation amongst the international organizations. Now, this is easier said than done, because we all know the different organizations have their own agenda. And again, the decision makers, the stakeholders, often decide having their national interest as the highest priority. So what I believe is that one way to overcome this hurdle, to bring them all together, would be if all the Secretary Generals of the different international organizations would join forces and make a coordinated proposal to our stakeholders, the nations, asking for their support in developing adequate instruments for information exchange and joint projects to tackle the issues.
This will be noted in the report.
Please.
Next year, NATO celebrates its 60th anniversary. I think it's in the spring.
It's in 3rd of April.
3rd of April, yeah.
In Strasbourg.
And in December, of course, you know, there's the Copenhagen COP15, which is the most challenging COP, you know. It would be great if there would be a NATO, you know, perspective on that and integrated policy.
Let's try to work on it from now on,
yes.
already.
Yes, we will, very much. Thank you very much.